What's up, you guys? Today's animated series review is about a group of cat humanoids vacating their home planet in search for new grounds and trying to adapt for a better life, and I'm talking about Thundercats. Thundercats, the animated series, aired in 1985, consisting of 4 seasons with a total of 130 episodes. Now, for this review, as a disclaimer, I will solely be focusing on the main storyline, as a lot happens within this series and there's a lot of filler episodes, which I'll try to avoid and save time. So with that said, let's get into it. Our story begins on the planet of Thundera as it's reaching to its end. And with that simple story, I will say it starts off pretty strong, leaving a lot of questions to be unanswered, with immediate emotions of seeing Thundera exploding right in front of our main heroes, whom we briefly get introduced to, called the Thundercats. Due to these unfortunate circumstances and honoring the legacy of those before them, one of the youngest members named Lion-O is summoned to obligate his duties to use the code of Thundera, as their new coordinates is this discovered planet and soon to be their new home called Third Earth. With this, he is given the mystic Sword of Omens by their wise mentor named Jaga, whom also assists them in new garments and unique weapons. Alongside this, their Thunderian ship winds up getting under attack by a group called the Mutants, which causes severe damage. Despite kicking their asses, fearing that the ship won't make it to their destination, Jaga offers to stay behind to course the ship in the right direction, thus resulting in another emotional farewell because they knew he was going to die via sacrifice. So within 5 minutes they already lost their planet and leader. Talk about an emotional roller coaster. In order to survive, the rest are put within these capsules that slows their aging process, and once arriving to Third Earth, they eventually wake up with Lion-O somehow having his capsule having a defect, causing his aging process to slow down instead of being suspended. The once little kid and supposed youngest is now an adult with a lot yet to learn as a leader. Lion-O is then faced with the Mutants once again, whom trace their crash site and kicks their asses by yelling the phrase, "Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight." This allows his vision to see great distance by staring through the eye of Thundera and summoning the Thundercats logo for help. And trust me, he does this a lot in the series, so you better get used to it. To establish the villain side of things, the Mutants discover an ancient tomb in which they befriend the evil Mummra, the Ever-Living, whom offers his assistance to rebuild their ship as collateral in helping him build his pyramid, aka Castle Plendar. And once learning that the Thundercats have arrived on Third Earth, which interferes his plans to rule it, this causes Mummra to turn his puny mummy-like form to this big beast of a monster, thus establishing the essence of this show. So within the Thundercats you have Lion-O the leader, Panthero, Cheetara, Tygra, the Thunderkittens such as Wilykat and Wilykit, and then there's Snarf. Jaga aids as a spiritual guide to Lion-O's adventures and battles. Then as the seasons progress we get Lynxo, Bengali, Pumaira, and Snarfer. We also have Claudus and his pet Kano, who's Lion-O's father. And then there's all these other important allies like Mandora, the Bearbles, Snowman and Snowmeow, Willa and Nada, Termagar, Hachiman, Captain Bragg, and a few Thunderian refugees. There's also a bunch of others whom aid in various episodes consisting of different species, robots, humans, and more. As for the villains, you have Mummra the Ever-Living and his pet Mammut, the ancient spirits of evil whom provide his power, the mutants consisting of Slythe, Jackalman, Monkeyman, and Vultureman, the Lunatics with Luna, Amok, Alluro, Chilla, Tugmug, and Redeye, and then there's all these other monsters, animals, humans, robots, space pirates, and more. Throughout the series, the Thundercats are exploring Third Earth and searching for Thundrillium, an element found and used as their main source of fuel, also known as Fire Rock. They also obtain numerous vehicles throughout the series like the Thunder Tank, Thunderstrike, Thunderclaw, the Feliner, and more. The Burbles, who end up befriending the Thundercats after saving their land, help build their base called the Cat's Lair as a thank you gift, which is pretty impressive and one of my favorite designs. With that, they use this to their advantage to figure out their next strategy of what to do on this planet by sitting at the round table and asking questions like, are there other Thundercats out there, or will they survive on Third Earth? Season 1 offers a decent amount of action, such as the Thundercats battling the mutants on numerous occasions for whatever reason they feel is needed to make their lives miserable. But Vultureman is probably the only character with the most story arc, as he's the only one who's constantly improving and finding ways to not just end the Thundercats, but ways to overtake Mummra and rule Third Earth on his own. The amount of betrayals he accumulates is hard to keep count. And speaking of Mummra, he unfortunately adds to my list of another useless villain who always fails the task. Mummra is basically pointless and offers nothing to the show. I mean, most of the time he's in his tomb as he comes out, goes in, comes out, goes in, turns to his final form, which annoys me due to the amount of times I have to hear him say his catchphrase, gets his ass kicked, and then hides again. Mummra often disguises himself numerous times as different characters to trick the Thundercats, but you can guess how that turns out. However, a redeeming quality is that when Mummra battles Lino, they sometimes do put up a good fight even if it lasts less than a minute. But my question is, if they know his weakness is his reflection, why don't they just use that every time? It's like they forgot or something and could have easily prevented future attacks. As the season progresses, we eventually learn the powers of each Thundercat. Tygra has the power to turn invisible, Cheetara has a sixth sense and briefly has a romance with Lino, but we don't really see much of that after. Panthero is the mechanic, and the Thunderkittens are, well, good at playing around. The biggest storyline for this season are episodes called Lino's Anointment. Within these segments, the Thundercats each test Lino individually based on their strengths and weaknesses to see if Lino can overcome challenges to prove he can be the next Lord of the Thundercats. If he so wins, he earns each of their insignias that proves he's worthy. For example, within each anointment, Panthero challenges him in strength, Cheetara races him in speed, Tygra involves illusions and mind power. The Thunderkittens use a cavern of mazes set with traps to see if Lino can come out alive. After defeating each and earning their insignias, the final anointment is to face Mummra where a battle takes place. And as cool as it was in hoping Mummra would kick some ass, he loses to Lino as he comes out in victory by destroying Mummra's sarcophagus. And not only that, he gets a ceremony honoring his rightful place as not just a leader, but the new lord of the Thundercats. Season 2 kicks off with a 5-parter as we're now introduced to 4 new recruits such as Lynxo, Bengali, Mummra, and Snarfer. So whenever new recruits are added, I'm always a happy camper. Not only do we see a flashback of Jaga actually fighting, but Mummra gets destroyed. Until that is, in another 5-parter, lo and behold, Mummra lives. Here we get introduced to the Lunatics, whom are summoned after Mummra returns from the dead, and even gets a new pet named Mammut. Meanwhile, the Thundercats build another new base called the Tower of Omens, where our 3 new recruits are established to keep guard. Aside from those 10 epic episodes, I wish I can say the rest of the season offered something magical, but it falls a bit flat as Mummra searches for the Book of Omens, a book that contains all knowledge and secrets of Thundera and continues to disguise himself as other characters. However, there are some cool episodes like the Thunderkittens trying to act older or wanting to be trusted, Lino turning younger, or an eclipse that rushes the Cat's lair into destruction. Season 3 kicks off with another multiple-part episodes as Mummra reforms the planet of Thundera in search of a mighty weapon called the Sword of Plundar. With this, we're now introduced to the treasures of Thundera, a bunch of artifacts that holds all the secrets of Thundera, but were scattered throughout. Most importantly, the 2 essential ones being the key to Thundera and the Book of Omens. We also learn you can enter the Book of Omens, which takes you to another astral plane or dimension, by using the key which can grant you access to all of Thundera's knowledge by talking to the Guardians. The cool part is we're finally given a backstory for the war on Thundera and how Jaga fought a villain named Rotilla while utilizing the Sword of Plundar. In order to protect it and not fall into the wrong hands, it was thrown into the lava, which was the root cause of Thundera to explode. This led Mummra to rebuild Thundera, now calling it New Thundera, using the last remaining debris, and creates his new black pyramid there, and even enslaves the Snarfer race, which was kinda sad to see. And when finding out his plans, the Thundercats face a giant Mummra in an epic battle. One of my biggest disappointments is when Lino was facing Mummra within the Book of Omens, Mummra was at the verge of death and everything could have been over with. Unfortunately, through the Code of Thundera, Lino went back in and saved him. Unbelievable. Some episodes highlight the character development of Tygra as we learn more about his behavior, which can be perceived negatively. Cheetara trying to cope with her growing telepathy powers, the character Groon once being a Thundercat and close friend to Jaga, but allows greed to turn him to the forces of evil. And then the best one of them all, the episode where the annoying Snarf decides to leave. And I kid you not, I was so happy when this happened because I absolutely hate this character, but to only find out he wanted to stay. As for the villains, a pivotal plot here is that the mutants and lunatics wind up getting exiled and sent to this planet far, far away, where they can contemplate their failures, and although they do show up briefly in other episodes, we'll just say their storyline ends here. By the end of Season 3, the evil spirits get pissed at Mummra for doing absolutely nothing for 3 years, and end up banishing him until pleading for another chance. As a sign that they're not kidding, they exile Mammut to show Mummra he better get his shit together. So in one last attempt, Mummra fights the Thundercats and defeats the others, but when fighting Lino, well, you know, he gets defeated and the pyramid on Third Earth is finally destroyed. In the final season, which is another 5-parter, we get a bittersweet farewell, as the Thundercats decide to leave Third Earth and return back to New Thundera, since it's now been reconstructed. We see all the allies in the past seasons join this occasion, and to make sure that they are well protected, Tygra is held back to guard the Cat's Lair and Mummra stays back to guard the Tower of Omens. Even though they do come here and there, sadly we don't see much of these two characters as their storylines roughly fades away. The evil spirits end up giving Mummra one more chance, again, by sending him to New Thundera to take control of the gyroscope, which holds the gravity of Thundera, guarded by the Princess Jaga. The goal here now for the Thundercats is not only to have Thundera flourish better than what it used to be, but now finding Thunderian refugees, whom were scattered throughout the universe during its evacuation. In fact, they even have their own Thundercats airport awaiting for their arrival, or if anyone goes on some sort of expedition. They even build a brand new Cat's Lair on New Thundera, which looks badass. The rest of the season will showcase the return of Claudus, Lion-O's father, as we learn what happened to him when fighting the Shadow Master. I love how we see a 2-on-1 fight with Claudus and Jaga versus the Shadow Master. The ending of this episode was quite sad because although Lion-O saved his father and had the chance to join the Thundercats, he ends up accepting that his time has passed and gave Lion-O the throne. Therefore, he takes his spirit form alongside Jaga. Another episode involves Zax, the once powerful being on the opposite side of the world whom was as equivalent to Mummra. After a battle to determine who would take over the entire planet of Third Earth, and with Mummra winning, at least we've gotten some sort of backstory here. By the end of the series, shit goes down as different terrains are causing earthquakes, and if not stopped, Thundera could be destroyed again. The Guardians within the Book of Omens states that the Thundercats have till the end of the day to place all the treasures in its rightful spot to prevent this from occurring, and the Eye of Thundera must be present to save the planet from self-destructing. So Lion-O summons Snarf and Panthero to the Mountains of the Moon with the Gem Light, the Thunderkittens go to the Iron Glades with the Ancient Flag, Cheetara and Linkso head to the Caverns of Cold with the Tile from the Fountain, Bengali and Snarfer to the Baleful Swamp with the Golden Ore. Mummra invades the Book of Omens to fight Lion-O, and in one last epic fight, they battle it out until Lion-O comes out victorious. The world has been saved, and New Thundera prospers in the light of a new era. This series is pretty decent, although my only complaint would have to be is that there are way too many filler episodes and not enough to progress each character's backstory, even for a series with 130 episodes. When they actually do explore it, it's vague or sometimes abrupted quickly with not enough context. If I were to really think about it, you can literally sum up this entire series in under 30 episodes, if you want to really get to the point. However, this show's graphics are incredible, I love the music, the voice acting is amazing, and for any 80s kid I can get why this show is addicting, because the pace is slow enough for you to fully acknowledge each character's trait to develop a bond with them. Therefore, Thundercats, the animated series, gets a B. Thanks for watching, be sure to give a like and subscribe for more SHARKTOONS, and I'll talk to you all next episode.